Most people hear Italian tanks and picture thin armor, weak guns, and crews who vanished at the first sign of trouble. Older war books pushed that idea hard. But when you look closely at the machines, the men, and the battles, the truth is far more complicated. Italy's armored forces did not lack bravery. They lacked time, they lacked fuel, they lacked radios, and every tank they built seemed to arrive 1 year after it was needed. The story begins with the smallest of them all, the L-640 light tank. Today, it looks almost like a toy. Short, narrow, barely armored, armed with a 20mm gun that could stop trucks but not much else. Yet these little tanks served everywhere. In Russia, they froze solid. In the Balkans, they squeezed through stone villages and mountain passes. In Italy, they climbed steep mule tracks that heavier tanks could not touch. One detail most people never hear is this. Italian mechanics often hauled the L-640 inside the beds of trucks. Not on trailers, in the trucks themselves. Drivers treated them like crates of ammunition, because the engines on long marches overheated so badly that entire companies would break down before reaching the front. But when these little machines arrived, crews used them with stubborn determination. Some battalions in Russia fought until there were only 2 tanks left running, both held together with wire, rope, and prayer. Then we reach the M1139, a strange machine born of rushed design. Its main gun was stuck low in the hull, off to the right. To aim side to side, the entire tank had to pivot. Veterans joked that it was a tank destroyer that destroyed itself. Yet there is a forgotten story here. In East Africa, a single M11 held off British armor for nearly half an hour, because the hull gun, awkward as it was, sat so low that enemy rounds kept skipping over it. That crew fought until the barrel glowed red. But Italy knew this design would not survive the modern war that was unfolding. So they pushed everything they had into something new, the M1340. This tank became the workhorse of the desert. A 47mm gun, a proper turret, suspension built for rough terrain. And when it worked well. Australian veterans, who captured many of them, often said the gun was accurate, and the armor was not as weak as old books claimed. One Australian cavalry regiment captured so many M13 tanks that they pressed them into their own service and even gave them nicknames. One tank carried the name Wally, painted across the glacis by a grinning digger. But the desert hated machinery. Sand clogged air filters. Fuel poured through cooling systems faster than trucks could supply it. One Italian crew recorded in a diary that their tank ran for only 20 minutes before overheating. They fought the rest of the battle outside the vehicle, using it as a machine gun nest. When the Desert War reached Tunisia, Italy sent its improved machines, the M1441 tanks. Your images show them buried in sand up to the hull, stacked with sandbags and even stones. That is not artistic license. It is what crews really did. Sandbags were common, but they caught fire when hit. So Italian soldiers gathered rocks from the desert floor and piled them on the turret and front hull for protection. These stones cracked when struck by incoming fire, sometimes stopping a round that would have killed the crew. It was crude, it was heavy, but it helped. Yet even the bravest crews could not escape the bigger truth. By 1942 and 1943, the Allies had better radios, better maps, better logistics. Italy's tanks often fought alone, not because commanders were careless, but because their radios failed constantly. A full armored company might go into battle with only 2 working sets. Orders were relayed by hand signals, colored flags, or liaison motorcycles. In a fast-moving desert fight, that was suicide. Then came the slow retreat toward Italy. The M1542 entered the war just as the country was falling apart. This tank was not a joke. It had a sharper 47-millimeter gun and a better engine. Some could even ford rivers when the driver kept just the right speed. Your photos show exactly that. Tanks pushing through chest-deep water with only the turret visible above the current. But almost every M15 unit suffered the same fate. No fuel, no parts, no way to repair simple breakdowns. Italian workshops did what they could, but by the summer of 1943, production lines were collapsing under bombing raids. Some of the newly built tanks went straight from the factory into German hands after the Italian surrender. Others were captured by American infantry advancing through the Po Valley, still smelling of factory paint. Which brings us to the final machine, the one older history fans often ask about, the P-40. Italy's heavy tank, a real design, thick armor, a 75-millimeter gun, a shape that looked closer to the tanks built by larger powers. Had this tank arrived in 1941, it might have changed something. Instead, the first complete vehicles rolled out when Italy's surrender was already underway. Most P-40 tanks never fought for Italy at all. German units seized them, repainted them, and even used them in parades to show that they still controlled northern Italy. One detail history books almost never mention. Most P-40 tanks were delivered without engines. Italy simply could not produce enough working power plants. German forces had to tow several P-40 hulls into battle like mobile bunkers. Some served as static gun positions, some guarded bridges. One was found after the war with its engine compartment completely empty, the tank having fought as a stationary fort. So why did all of these tanks fail to stop the Allied advance? The truth is a mix of tragedy and inevitability. Italy had smart engineers. Many of the designs were decent for their time. Crews fought bravely in situations where survival was unlikely. There are accounts of Italian tankers refusing to abandon their vehicles even when the ammunition ran out, choosing to fight with the turret machine gun until it overheated and jammed. Some fought hand-to-hand beside their burning machines, but industry wins wars, and Italy's industry simply could not keep up. Steel was scarce. Engines were unreliable. Factories relied on hand riveting long after other nations switched to welding. Radio production lagged behind need. Fuel deliveries collapsed under Allied bombing, and every new design arrived late. The M11 was too late for 1939. The M13 was too late for 1940. The M14 was too late for 1941. The M15 was too late for 1942. And the P-40 was too late for everything. Yet inside each tank were men who believed they could make a difference. Men who fought in deserts where the sun felt like fire. Men who fought in mountains where engines stalled on steep slopes. Men who fought in villages where every corner could hide an anti-tank team. Their machines may have failed them. Their country may have run out of time. But their courage was real. And that is the hidden truth. Italy's tanks did not fail because they were ridiculous. They failed because they were born in a nation fighting a modern industrial war with tools built by hand, in factories that never had the resources they needed, against enemies who had everything. When you look at these tanks today in photographs, what you see is not weakness. You see men doing the impossible with machines that arrived 1 year too late, again and again, until the war finally closed around them.